Okay, so we're at this job here, we're doing an oak floor. Now, one of the things you want to do when you're doing these floors with a micro beveled plank, this is a pre-finished hardwood, a pre-finished oak. So when they actually make these, there's a very slight micro bevel. These are actually pretty good, and it's almost like an arc to the floor. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you cut on an angle. We're going to go on a bit of an angle. After I start over there, so of course I start here along the wall, and then as I come into the room this way, I'm going to angle the sander. And I usually go about one or two planks, and that's an effective method for actually flattening the floor a little quicker. Right? So this is something that I don't always do it on the older floors. I find that the old strip floors don't really need this process done. So with the pre-finished hardwood, the newer woods, it actually speeds up the process of flattening the floor. And then when I get into the higher grits, I'm going to go straight and just flatten it out, because you're not going to really do any harm to the floor by going on a bit of an angle anyway. It's just going to help flatten the floor. And then as I get to the higher grits, I will be going straight. Of course, we're still going to edger, and my final passes with the square buff, that's an orbital sander anyway. So, but that's just one tip and technique that you can use if you're roughing off a pre-finished hardwood. You want to go on an angle first, right? At least a couple of planks. I don't know what that would be in degrees, 2 degrees, 1 degree. But really, if you do that, you're going to just find, because it's cutting across each plank at an angle, that it tends to flatten it a little faster. When you're going straight directly in line or parallel to the planks all the time, because of the way the planks are, in terms of there's a slight, almost like an arch to these planks if you're to feel it. So if you're actually run your hand over the plank here and you feel it, it almost feels like there's a slight arc this way, right? And it's almost like you're arcing along here. So it's very minimal, but just that by going on an angle, you're actually flattening the entire thing out a little bit easier, a little bit faster than if you're just to go straight parallel across. All right, there's your tip of the day. So when you are roughing off a room like this, and it's a pre-finished floor, go on a couple plank angle. It's going to be much easier to flatten it out, and then when you get up to the higher grits, you can progress to the straight passes. It's easier to flatten the floor that way when you're on these pre-finished. On those old floors, the old thin strip oak floor, it's not such a big deal because you're usually perfectly flat, and you get a lot of wear on them and age. But usually those floors back then, the planks, unless there was a lot of humidity in the room and possibly water damage, generally those planks remain pretty flat. You can still do a couple plank angle on those as well, but I just find definitely on these pre-finished floors that have that kind of arc to them, when you feel it's very slight, but I just find flattening it out is much quicker this way. Today's tip of the day was brought to you by Sofa King, makers of fine, luxurious furniture. Remember, it's not just good, it's so freaking good. It's so freaking good you won't believe it.